This is True Sports and a live broadcast. How's it going, everybody?
What's up? What's up?
So week 3 of our podcast, we're really excited to go ahead and get this thing going quickly here. I want to talk about something, Andy, before we get going.
All
right. I know we've talked about not wanting, politics and things to be, really relevant in our show.
Yeah.
We really just want to have fun and talk about sports and keep it light. But this stuff, when stuff hits close to home, it makes it really hard to brush it to the side and not talk about it. So
especially right here, right exactly in home,
literally 2 blocks from my house. So Sergeant Steve Owen from Lancaster Sheriff's Department was murdered. Not just shot in a shooting.
He was executed.
Yeah, he was executed, and it's something that I feel we have to address. And stuff is it's unraveling, and things seem to just be getting worse. Because then 2 days later in Palm Springs, a kid or a young man, I believe his early 20s, told his dad that he wanted to kill cops, and then he called the police to set them up, to ambush them. And this is something that's happening more and more often. And we can look at all kinds of different reasons why this stuff is happening. But I think as humans, we all have to take a step back and say that these things are heartbreaking. And the fact that people are losing their lives is heartbreaking. These are fathers and mothers and daughters. The woman that lost her life.
These are husbands and, wives that are out there just doing their job.
Right. And we could talk about the flip side of, people dying in police custody and whatnot. And, again, I don't want it to turn into a big, political debate or discussion.
We're not going to get into that.
I just want to honor, those who have died in the last 2 weeks and really, I just ask everybody to put their families in your thoughts and prayers. Some people in my family knew Sergeant Owen. And he's just one of those guys that touched the entire community. He was an incredible leader in the community, did a lot of serving for kids and youth, coached football, everybody. It was really touching to see hundreds and hundreds of people flood the streets to honor him as he was brought back into the city in the hearse for his, to come back to the mortuary.
Did you actually see the Vikings game? They had his a picture of him, and they did a little in memory of on the jumbotron in Minnesota.
Wow.
From what I've read, my wife was telling me that he was a big Vikings fan, and they went to the game. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this was going to be the first time of him going to see his favorite team, and he wasn't able to make it, but his family went, represented him, and, the Vikings did, do like a little memorial or a little, tribute to him and his family, which I thought was awesome. Way to go, Vikings. I think that's an amazing thing for them to do, considering the fact, especially, it's not something that was personal for them. It's not a local person for them, but it's still a very classy move. And, we thank you for doing that.
Right. A lot of love there. Really appreciate you guys for that. So again, loss of life is tragic. Just please, everybody, keep these people in your prayers and your thoughts. Not just the officers that have died, but the other people as well. Just be praying and talking, talk about how we can make a difference and weeding out those bad apples. You know what I mean? And try and stop this stuff from happening. And people should speak up. If you know that somebody has got some loose screws and they're capable of doing something like this, it's better to speak too early than too late. So that's all I want to say about that. So let's go ahead and get to the Rams' loss. I told you. I told you that this was it was like a fairy tale that was happening, and it was
Oh,
just too good to be true.
I'm not disagreeing with you. The only thing I'm saying is that I said it from the beginning. We can go back and listen to episode 1. I don't think Case Keenum is the answer, and I'm still sticking by that. Did he have a few good games? Did he had some games where maybe the wide receivers and the team played good? Yeah, they did. But we knew that it was kind of more like like a mirage. It's not something that they're going to continue, for the rest of the season. They're not going to continue and have a great playoff run. I think we all know that. And I think it's just like a LA fan, which is kind of appreciating the fact that they're winning and they're doing something positive while they're, their first season back, even though they got destroyed the first game. The next 3 games they were, they're winning close games, not the, most exciting games, especially that Seattle game was ridiculously boring. And I mean, it was just it's just sloppy. They had a lot of sloppy wins, but I don't know. Now I think they're kind of going to start getting a little more exposed.
Right.
But I have a question. What do you think of Todd Gurley now? We're getting a larger sample size. We're getting to see now the second year. Do you think that he was all hype? And do you think that people are catching up now and he's not who we thought he was in year 1?
As a fan, I want to say no. I think I have to trust the experts on this one. I've never played competitive football. I was a really big fan of football for quite some time and followed it and could understand the game and follow the game. And it still could. Unfortunately, my Chargers are hardly ever on TV, and I don't know that I would want to continue watching them the way they're playing right now. Anyways, because I'd probably I'd have an artery in my neck explode from watching them lose in the fourth quarter every game,
every single week.
But to answer your question, I think Todd Gurley is a special player. I think he has special abilities. And I think he's just having a rough go. For us to sit here and write him off this early, I think would be stupid because you look at somebody like Adrian Peterson, he's had plenty of rough years.
But the thing is, I agree with that. The thing I'm saying is that people, I believe, were ready to kind of give him that, that kind of little throne of, saying he's going to be Adrian Peterson in 2-3 years. They were ready to give him that, which I'll admit it. I was thinking, yeah, you know what? This guy's going to be the future of the league. This guy's going to be the one who's going to, just start putting up those ridiculous numbers and start breaking records, which I think he still has the talent to. I'm not saying that he's not going to, or I'm not saying that he's a bust. I think he has talent. But now that we're having, I think, a bigger view on him, and we're in the 5th week of the NFL season, year 2 for him. I think, okay, maybe we kind of jumped a little too. We jumped, head first into this a little too quickly.
No, see, I disagree with that. I agree with the theory behind your point, but I disagree with the point in the sense that I stand behind what I said week 1, which is that he needs an offense around him. There is no one. You even said yourself when we were talking about it before the podcast that Keenum was throwing down the field to nobody. He's overthrowing, he's underthrowing.
Well, he was throwing, but he wasn't in his mark. Yeah, no, he
right.
He doesn't have the
chucking
accuracy.
it.
No, yeah, he doesn't have the accuracy. I agree.
Exactly. So that leads me to my question, which is, Goff, are we ready for him?
No.
I said by week 6.
We're not ready. I don't think so.
I said by week 6, I think we're going to see him.
I said the earliest possible that I would even consider it would be second half of the season. I stick by that. I still think it'll probably even be maybe the last couple games of the season or even next season. I just don't think I think Jeff Fisher is willing to just let the ball go and just willing to just continue on this ride with Case Keenum for some reason. And then
why? So I would ask you then, why would he do it? So if what I see Jeff Fisher reaching and trying to create something out of nothing. For instance, in the last game, I noticed that Todd Gurley kept lining up in the slot, and he was playing as a slot receiver. Now, that's nothing new. The Chargers do it all the time.
Yeah, every once in a while, teams will do that. Yeah.
A lot of teams do it. Darren Sproles has done it on every team that he's ever been on. But it's not Todd Gurley's thing. You know, he could do it, but he's a runner.
Yeah, he's not known for being a receiving back.
Right. So
He's not David Johnson.
My question to you then is, at what point does Jeff Fisher say, okay, I cannot reach anymore. I'm creating something out of nothing, or I'm trying as hard as I can to create something out of nothing. There's nothing there.
That's
you can't
Jeff
create
Fisher's
nothing out of
career,
nothing. So at what point?
It's sad to say, but
and it's unfortunate that ownership put so much power in his hands. So at what point does ownership put pressure on him and say, listen, your job is on the line right now?
Honestly, I think the reason I think a part of him is doing this because it's buying him time. Because it's buying him time. Okay, listen, it's buying him time in the sense to where, you know, they just moved to a new city. I think ownership doesn't want to make a change where they're going to get a new head coach where it's going to, you know, kind of change up the system. It's going to change the environment. It's going to change, you know, the team atmosphere, especially, you know, with the rookie quarterback. Drafting a rookie quarterback, especially number one in a new city, buys him at least 2 years. At least 2 years. So I think if he doesn't start Goff right away, it's going to, you know, extend that time period even more for him.
That doesn't make any sense.
Yes, it does. Dude, there's been I've actually listened to a few experts. I think Marcellus Wiley was talking about it, where he said he's buying himself time. He's making this because you're not going to make a change, and he's still giving people that hope that I'm developing this kid. Give me some more time. Let me develop this kid. He's not ready. Once he's ready, I'll make up for the losses. I'll make up for the bad image I've had in the past.
Right, but he's not saying that. So at what point, we've talked about LA and their inability to have patience with the Lakers. So at what point does the city say
LA's not a patient city?
Right. So at what point do the fans weigh in and say, look, we don't care what you think you're doing. We want Goff in there.
I think it's an awkward transition right now where I don't think the fans will say that. Honestly, even if they did, I don't think it'll be a big enough voice to make an actual difference at this time.
We want Goff. We want Goff. Think about it. that chant starts hitting that stadium. It is gonna echo, and it's gonna vibrate Jeff Fisher's spine. We want Goff. I want to hear that at the next game.
The only thing that'll make a difference is if it's affecting the pockets of the owners, and that's not going to happen anytime soon.
I don't know, man. Kroenke is all about L.A. Honestly, I don't think he wanted to move
Kroenke's
to begin
all about
with.
The money.
Yeah, of course, because he's rich.
I mean,
right?
It's a business. Let's be realistic.
Right, but at the same time, when you listen to him talk, I don't think he wanted to move to begin with. Honestly, I think it was a political move, and I think it was pushed mostly by the NFL.
He was the one who pushed it. He was the one who came to the NFL. He wanted to do it. He did want to do it. He wanted to do it because St. Louis wasn't going to put up the money in order to, help him build a new stadium. And the whole reason that they moved to St. Louis was I believe they said in 20 years we have to have a stadium that's competing with the best stadiums out there. That was the agreement they came to. So when he went to the city and said, "Hey, you haven't kept your part of the deal. I need some money. I need you guys to help me build this new stadium," even though he's a multi-billionaire. But they want the help of it, and especially if that was the agreement when they moved from LA. And they're like, "You know what? Well, we're not going to do it. What are you going to do?" And he's like, "Okay, I'll just go to LA." Because he has the money and he knows over here he'll make a greater profit, especially with that land that he bought in Inglewood. He bought that whole land, so he's going to make hotels. He's going to have bars and just shopping little area.
Right,
and it's going to have I think isn't he going to build like apartment complexes?
Yeah, it's going to be amazing. But
awesome.
He bought that property a couple years ago, so obviously, and this is not like a new plan, right? That's what I'm saying. This was not like, hey, St. Louis, it's been 20 years. Where's my stadium? He's been planning his return to LA for years. This is not new. That's what I'm saying. I don't think that
but the honestly, fact that the stadium wasn't getting built in St. Louis gave him the perfect opportunity and the perfect reason to get out.
Right. It gave him the excuse to do it and not be the hated one. But my point is, I don't believe that he really wanted to leave LA to begin with.
LA to begin. Oh, my bad. I thought you said you didn't think he wanted to leave St. Louis to begin with.
Oh no, he definitely wanted out of St. Louis.
Oh my bad.
No, he was. That's what I'm saying. Where are you going with that?
My bad. Okay, then yeah. Okay, I agree.
Yeah, I know technically he bought into the team during the move to St. Louis, and that was part of the deal to get him that 30% share.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, man, I feel like there was some political powers at work back then that caused that move to happen. And when you listen to him talk, it just doesn't sound like he thought that it was a good move back then.
In the 90s, LA sports, really politics involved? Nah, I doubt it.
Right. So this is my theory of what happened. I believe that numbers started to dip, and it was a LA, if you're not going to come to our football games, we're going to take your football team away, and they just did it.
Yeah, well, LA was like, okay, that's fine. We don't really, it's not that big of a deal.
We got the Lakers.
Yeah, well, yeah, and the Dodgers, it's not that big of a deal. And then once, there was that absence of that football team for so long, I think, we wanted that team for a while. We've wanted an NFL team for a good, like 5-10 years where it was like a big deal. We're like, when are we going to get this team? When are we going to get it? And then I think because of the high demand, we were always that area, that location where teams could always, use us as leverage of, well, if you don't help us pay for this, or, when, like with San Diego, when, they don't want to help them pay for the new stadium, they're like, we'll just go to LA.
Speaking of that,
we were always that tool or that, that other option for them.
So, speaking of that, we didn't have this one on our list, but thank you for bringing it up. Chargers fans in LA, get excited because the Chargers have until March to give Stan Kroenke an answer, and the city of San Diego recently declined to help pay for the stadium. They said it's not going to happen. The voters voted against it. They didn't get enough petitions signed.
Yeah, you get enough signatures, right? Yeah, I heard
that. Here's the exciting part about it that nobody really ever talks about. I called into 710 ESPN one day and talked to Ramona Shelburne about it. And the thing that I brought up to her was that what nobody talks about is that the Chargers are the only sports franchise in history that was born in Los Angeles. Some people like to bring up the Angels to me, but the Angels were not born in LA, and they weren't an MLB team until the Dodgers bought them and used them as they weren't AAA, but they were like a minor league. They called them semi-pro affiliate. So Chargers, man, bring them back home, bring them to their birth city. And
can we call the Lakers semi-pro right now?
Negative. You really want to get on Lakers right now?
We'll go back to that.
All right, we'll have some Lakers coming up towards the end of the show. I'm excited to share what I've learned in 3 preseason games about this team and what to look forward to in the future. But let's move on to Brady, because we posted a question about should cheating tarnish Brady and Belichick's legacy. And to counter that question, we also said, if Kobe or Michael were caught cheating in any form, would that tarnish their record in your opinion? And what's striking is that I noticed that some people felt that with Brady, either they didn't care or yes, it would or should tarnish the record, their legacy, sorry. But with Kobe and Michael, I put the question of yes, no, or 2 of the greatest,
no matter what,
regardless. And it seems like most people weighed in on the side of 2 of the greatest regardless. So my question to you, Andy, is, in your opinion, as a diehard football fan, you're a diehard Eagle fan, but you're a football fan.
Yes, sir.
Just as much as I am a basketball fan. So as a football fan, do you believe that Brady and Belichick's legacy should be tarnished by cheating? And keep in mind that this is not just one instance. They have had multiple
Spygate,
right? Multiple cheating allegations brought against them that have had plenty of evidence to back them up to say that this really happened, and also suspensions that followed. So
false.
So,
All right.
go ahead and weigh in on that.
Okay, my honest opinion, I'm before, anyone tries to say that I'm just going to be defending the Patriots. I'm not a Patriots fan. I don't hate them. I honestly don't really like care as far as like a love or hate them. I mean, I just appreciate good football in general. Like there's only like a few small teams that I actually really don't like. But that's a different conversation for a different day. But as far as do I think it tarnishes it? Personally, for me, no, it does not. And the reason why I say no, it does not.
Really?
Yeah, I honestly don't think it does. Because, okay, because to me, it's deflating a football to the point where he can kind of just have a better grip. Okay,
That's not the question.
Okay, no. But I'm going based off of what happened, what he did.
Right, but I'm not talking about just that. Regardless, it's cheating.
Okay, well, see, like,
There's a rule.
I understand that.
Regardless of how we feel about it personally.
I understand
because I agree
that.
with you on that.
No. Okay, I don't think it tarnishes that one. The one that I would be like Spygate, where they're recording, their opponents' plays and all that. But from what I've noticed, it's not even like, in this first game where Brady came back, it just seems like all was forgotten. Like, people were just so excited to have him back in the league, whether you love him or hate him. Just his presence and what he can do as on the field. Jimmy Garoppolo and Brissett, whatever. Their third stringer, their rookie. They, even though they won some games, they could not do what he does. And people were like, oh, because they're when they were 3-0. Oh, because they're 3-0, does that just kind of add more to Belichick and kind of diminish a little bit of Brady? I don't think so. I think he came back out, and the numbers that he put up, he was like, I'm still Tom Brady, and this is still my team, and no one could, take this spot from me. I think he did, especially.
So what numbers did Brady put up this weekend on his return?
Okay, this weekend in the Tom Brady, your hero, Christopher, he put
negative.
Up, you said he was like the Kobe of football for you, right?
Nope. Never came out of my mouth. Wait, in my Trump voice, wrong. Wrong.
I never said that. All right, so
nope, I never said that.
All right, so okay, so the numbers he put up, he passed for 406 yards. He completed 70% of his passes. He had one sack, but I mean that's not really his fault all the way. But he threw for 3 touchdowns, and his rating was 127.7, which is amazing. He threw for 3 touchdowns, over 400 yards on the first game. Given, I understand, it was the Browns, but still, dissected him. He can still find those holes, those gaps.
It was just the Browns.
Hey, have you read that? There's been like little, well, not petitions, but there's been little discussions where people feel like they made a poll and they said, who do you think would win in a game, the Cleveland Browns or the Ohio State Buckeyes? The costume and the Buckeyes got the higher.
Dude, one of the funniest things I saw was a Cleveland Browns fan with a sign that said Cleveland or Browns QB's lives matter.
I saw that. I was done. That was the funniest thing.
Oh, man.
Like, have you seen?
No disrespect to any of the groups out there. Black Lives Matter, All Lives Matter, all that.
But we're not trying to make fun of anybody.
It was what he wrote.
The wordplay
was hilarious.
Yeah. Have you seen when they've had like that big banner and like when the Browns and it just at least we still have LeBron? Because they're never gonna win anything. Like, it sucks. They have some good. They have talent too. They have some good running backs. They have some good receivers and like some young guys. But I mean, there's always injury there. It just seems like they have like a curse on them or something. And I'm not like the superstitious type, but I don't think I actually mean a curse. But yeah, I don't know. There's just something wrong with them. But okay, back to the Brady Belichick thing. I don't think this really is. If we're talking just this incident with Brady, the Deflategate, I don't think it does. As far as Belichick, I think maybe it should, but realistically, I don't think it will. I think most people are going to kind of forget all that because, I mean, now most people don't bring it up unless you're a hardcore Patriots hater or like once something happens again, like with the whole, when, the balls were deflated. That's when everyone started bringing back this isn't the first time and it happened in the past. But before that, for like a year, nobody ever really said anything about him, and they were, giving Brady the crown and saying that he's possibly the greatest of all time. That it's just between him and Peyton Manning at this time, which I think is a great conversation. And I honestly think that Brady is top 3 quarterbacks of all time, even though he has Belichick, he has that system, he has, that coach who's one of the greatest coaches ever. I don't think Belichick could be Belichick without Brady to that full extent, where he has 4 rings and vice versa. But I don't think, to answer your original question, I don't think it really diminishes it or it tarnishes it as much as it probably should, especially for Belichick.
Right. And, my quick response to it is that, everybody, whenever you talk about this issue, people always say, well, come on, he just deflated football a little bit and it doesn't really change the game. But here's the thing, when you're playing in cold weather, that little bit of, that little less air on the ball gives you more grip. It also makes it easier for your receivers to catch. So regardless.
And also so you don't fumble it. So you don't, so the ball doesn't come out of your hand.
Exactly. And the bottom line is there's rules against it. And he broke the rules. And my point is how many times are we going to let this guy break the rules? And, every time he breaks the rules, it's like, oh, Brady, that's just Tom. It's okay. He's still the best. And it's like, why do we keep doing that?
It kind of reminds me of like that. I mean, not in the same context, but like, like that, like rebellious or like, a relative that every family has. Like, oh, you know what? He got arrested. It's, it happens.
It's just him. That's just him. That's just who he is.
That's just Jimmy. That always happens.
Yeah, it's kind of annoying because you look at, you could call me a Phillip Rivers fanboy or whatever. I don't care. The bottom line is the guy is one of the greatest of all time, and he doesn't get the credit he deserves. And yet, Tom is over here cheating at least once every 3-4 years. But because he has championships, we just brush it under the rug and it doesn't matter. But Phillip Rivers could put up the same numbers, and we don't give him that credit.
America loves champions. That's the reason why. I mean, I honestly think if they had the same amount of championships, it would be a closer discussion. Just like with Peyton Manning, people weren't trying to...
Okay, I have a question for you then.
Okay.
If you put Phillip Rivers on the Patriots and Tom Brady on the Chargers, do you think the championships would be flipped?
That is a very interesting question. I'm not sure. Can I get back to you on that one? I know
I'll let you get back to me, but I'm going to tell you why the answer is yes.
This is a question that I really, really want to dissect. I really want to,
absolutely
process.
Take your time on that, but I'm going to tell you why the answer is yes.
Okay.
The answer is yes because Bill Belichick is the reason why they have all those championships, and you can see that because he can throw any quarterback in there, and they will still get the job done. It might be a little more difficult. I'm not taking any of it away from Brady.
It'd be a lot sloppier.
Right. Brady is, talent-wise, if you take the cheating aside, you throw everything...
Alleged cheating. You got caught, I know.
You throw everything out the window, and you just look at the core. The guy's got a raw talent and ability. I still feel bad for Bledsoe that he got hurt and never got to play again, and starting for the Patriots.
Dude,
and
that's
it's
the
sad.
NFL, though.
But right, it's just the NFL. But I think that
Tony
speaks
Romo
to
got his start too.
Yeah, and that's how Tony
And
Romo's about to lose his job.
Exactly.
But I think that speaks to Brady's abilities. I think he is extremely, extremely talented, and I would never take that away from him. But I can never get behind a cheater. Alex Rodriguez is one of the ones that was the most heartbreaking for me. In the way that Ken Griffey Jr. would have been heartbreaking if we found out that he cheated. Alex Rodriguez, was an animal, and he was so good, and everybody loved him, and he always said, man, I hope that guy isn't on PEDs. And then it comes out that he did PEDs for like 3 or 4 years. And what sucks about it is it was during a 3 or 4 year period
where he wasn't that great.
Yeah, he wasn't even that great. He was just, he got injured a couple times, and so he was taking them to try and get better, or to get healthy quicker. And all of his numbers came pre-PED use. But now all we look at is Alex the cheater. And that's what I'm saying is that
True.
if you look at Brady, you put him and Phillip Rivers side by side, very similar numbers, very similar abilities as far as accuracy, throwing down the field, etc. And I truly believe that if you swap the two of them and you put Rivers on the Patriots for all these years, he would have just as many championships, if not more.
More than 4.
Yes. Phillip Rivers is Tom Brady's kryptonite. And
no, Eli Manning is Tom Brady's kryptonite.
That's true. That's true. So I guess my next question for you then is Tom Brady the best quarterback in history?
I don't know best.
Despite the cheating.
Okay. Despite the cheating, I would say easy, probably top 2 or 3. It's in our generation, I would say yes. I would say he's better than Peyton Manning.
Fair enough. I would never put anybody over Joe Montana. He's still, in my opinion, he's the Babe Ruth.
Well, see, I don't know. I think it's because we were just so young that I don't know if I was able to really. I wasn't able to appreciate what he could really do. So for me, watching that and hearing about that, it's more kind of just like a. Like not a fairy tale, but it's something that you just kind of appreciate. Like you said, the Babe Ruth, I think it's kind of like a great example because you hear about everything he did. You look at the stats, you're like, okay, it backs up, the statement that he's one of the greatest, if not the greatest ever. But I don't think we were able to appreciate it, in the right way to have that actual discussion.
Right, and it's kind of the same thing with Dan Marino. I mean, I feel like Dan Marino is easily top 3 quarterback of all time, but we don't give him that recognition because he didn't get that championship. Right. And I guess that's another question is why does a ring define success in team sports? In basketball, I get it and I understand because a single player can impact the game in a way that can cause wins drastically. Right. But in football, it's a little different. I mean, you really have to rely on a team, and same thing with basketball. With baseball. One person can affect the game and can cause wins, but one person cannot win championships for a baseball team.
Okay, the reason why I think we're so obsessed with only giving credit to those who won championships is because in the playoffs, it kind of brings those great athletes to a greater level. And that's what helps us, determine who's really the best player. For example, I forgot what I was listening to on ESPN one time, and they were talking about playoffs and championships and how that brings the best out of players, and they were saying the reason why we admire so much of like Jordan, Kobe, when that pressure and that everything was on the line for them to win, they escalated. They were great players during the regular season, but in those championship games, they elevated to another level. Whereas, an example, Clayton Kershaw is, can be labeled as one of the, greatest pitchers, but in playoffs, he never shows up. So that you can't really, I'm using that
greatest
example.
Pitcher.
Okay, well,
he has been called by Oral Hershiser as the greatest pitcher of all time. Continue.
Okay, the only reason, all right, I'm not big on debating about baseball, but okay, I'll take your word for it. But like I'm saying, if other people don't agree, he's, named as one of the greatest, you say the greatest, pitchers of all time, yet the reason why I don't think he's celebrated and viewed as, best, ever undeniably is because he doesn't have championships, is because he doesn't show up in the playoffs. And he hasn't taken his team or helped them get to, get over that hump and go to the World Series and win.
But that's a special circumstance.
I know it's not all him, but
no, it's not even that. It's just that it's just the Cardinals. The Cardinals, for some reason, have his number, and they've owned him in the playoffs. So it's a special circumstance. I get where you're going with.
Okay,
the point,
but if he were to show up at least one of those years and just finally say, you know what, I'm done with this, and get over the Cardinals, then it would be a different situation. It would be a different thing. I'm just saying those best of all times players always found a way to get it done, and they always found a way. Like Jordan, when he first started, going to playoffs, he would get eliminated, and then finally once he got like a team, like a supporting cast around him, and he elevated his game. He was able to say, you know what, I'm not going to keep getting eliminated in the playoffs, and I'm going to just show what I can do and what I'm made of. And then he became, arguably the greatest of all time. Same with Kobe. Even when Shaq left, and people were saying, "Oh, it's because of Shaq. That's the only reason he did it." He's not as great as we thought. He proved everybody wrong, and he said, "You know what? You want to talk crap about me? I'm going to show you what I can do." And he made sure in those moments where he needed to show up, he performed.
I agree with you 100%. My struggle is just that how do we celebrate a cheater as one of the greatest of all time? How do we do that? How do we celebrate it and be okay with it? And should we be okay with it? Should we have to accept it because, he has 4 championships? And I guess that would be my final question to you on this issue is should we accept Brady as one of the greatest of all time despite his cheating? When you think about the cheating and you put that into perspective, and the fact that him and his coach have both been caught cheating and have been caught lying about it, should we accept it? No. Dude destroyed his phone.
Maybe he had some text messages and pictures he didn't want out there. I don't know. Yeah, no. I mean, I get what you're saying, and I mean, I'm just having more fun with the question, I guess. But no, I agree. But like I said, I don't think it's gonna tarnish their legacy as much as it should. Right. And I think if we try, I think it's just difficult to compare it, because if we try to compare it to the greats from baseball that use that they use PEDs, because Brady didn't use something to physically help him. I mean, it's not the same because he's not trying to hit a ball 500 feet. So it's not the same. I mean, we know he has the accuracy. We know he can throw the ball. He's calm. He knows how to find those gaps and get it to the receiver. He knows how to remain calm in those situations and have that. I don't know. I guess I don't know how to defend that. I'm not in this situation. I guess he felt that he wasn't able to, because I mean, I'll just take his word for it. Not that it's a reliable source, but from what he says is that his hands are I believe a little smaller, so it's harder for him to grip it, especially when it's when it's cold. But in general, he always likes having, from what he said. Like I said, I'm just going based off of him. He has the ball at the lower end of the because they have their range that they have to keep it. Yeah, so he keeps it at the lowest range possible because he likes it a little flatter. Whereas Aaron Rodgers likes it at the higher range. Exactly. So I mean, everyone has their preference, which I get that.
Right, but my point is rather than cheating, why not? You're the golden boy of the league. Why not force the league to make a change?
I don't know. I don't know if he tried and it just wasn't working. But I mean, hey, he got caught. It happened. I like I said, I don't think that it'll tarnish his legacy. I think I think the tape recording is a way bigger deal, because that's a huge unfair advantage, because you're knowing what your opponent is coming with. Their game plan. That's huge. Whereas the ball, I mean, if he did something to sabotage, because they play the Colts that game when the balls are deflated, if he did something to the Colts balls, where they couldn't get a good grip or mess with something, their equipment or whatever, I think that's a bigger deal. Where you're affecting the other team's chances, then I think that's a greater impact. But I don't think on him on his own is as great.
You know who affected their own chances?
Who?
And really hurt themselves? The guy that I played in fantasy this week. This guy, so Carson Palmer went out, and instead of replacing him or picking up another quarterback, he just left him in there. So he got no points. I mean, the guy shot himself in the foot. Literally. Actually, let's go back to...
literally shot himself in the
foot? Let's go back to my saying of he kicked himself in the face. Quite literally. Quite literally. Yeah, he also kept 2 people in that were on bye weeks. I'm starting to think this guy's not involved in our league anymore.
I think it's fair. I think it's a fair assessment.
So I just wanted to point out something really quick with fantasy football. I'm looking at our standings, and I am in first place, and I am undefeated. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Round of applause for me. Boo. Crowd goes wild. 4-0.
Isn't it 5-0 now?
No, it's 4-0.
Yeah, they haven't updated it because they don't update till midnight. You'll be 5-0. This isn't.
That's twice.
Yeah, I know. Pay attention.
Oh
They
man.
didn't get the other one. Okay,
So
but
those of you that don't know, we record this pretty late at night. So
okay, no, quick, um little insight
little
on,
tidbit.
yeah, on my other league, on one of my other leagues that I do with my coworkers, which I think is hilarious. One of my coworkers was talking, crap to me last week, saying that he was gonna beat me, and I'm like, dude, you literally as of last week, I'm like, you're 1-3, you got your one win, and now you think you're gonna beat me? I'm like, all right. So we faced this week at um my final score was 155. Guess what his was, Chris? Just guess.
90.
81.
Oh man.
81 to 155. So I destroyed him. I mean, David Johnson, my two running backs killed it. David Johnson and Jordan Howard. Both Jordan Howard gave me 22 points, David Johnson 30 points. Okay, so I did want to bring up one thing. I did mention in the first podcast how one of my sleeper picks, or one of my, sleeper picks was Matt Forte, which I thought he was killing it. I thought he was doing good. I'm still a huge fan. The only thing I did notice was that he's having some little knee problems. Nothing major. He hasn't missed any games, but they keep him a little limited certain days of the week for practices, or some certain days he just won't practice. But like the last few days of the week, he'll go in there limited or full participation. So I noticed, I'm okay. They're kind of dividing the load between him and Powell, their backup running back. And I actually had somebody from the league reach out. I'm like, hey, who do you want for Forte? I was like, that might be a really good time for me to kind of get something from him, because I don't think he's going to be, hold out, with that much value for the rest of the season. So needless to say, I made a trade, and now I have Lamar Miller, which I'm hoping he gets a touchdown. He hasn't had a touchdown from what I'm looking at his stats all season yet. We're in game 5, and Brock Osweiler looks like it was a horrible investment for the Texans.
So mine is something funny. Last week we were talking about my Mike Brown, right? Oh no, that was Mike Jones.
It was Matt Jones, and you said Mike Jones.
Who? John Brown. Anyways, the wide receiver that I was talking about last week that I picked up, and I was really excited because I was like, man, he had 2 rough weeks in the beginning of the season, but then he really turned it around. And I decided to put him in as my wide receiver, running back, that combo position. And guess how many fan points he got me?
Who?
John Brown.
Oh, he didn't get it? Didn't he get like negative?
He got me negative 0.15. I was like, you've got to be kidding me, dude.
Oh, and actually, I looked into it. I didn't have him on my lineup. I had him in a lineup on one of my other leagues, and because he wasn't doing anything for me, I dropped him into the waiver wire. Someone picked him up, and someone was all excited because he gave him a bunch of points for a week, and then this week he didn't do anything. So I was like, cool. I had no say and no doing in you acquiring John Brown, and so now, I could just laugh.
Right. And then the Rams, I finally started the Rams defense because they've been killing it. They've just been doing amazing. And I knew Carolina wasn't going to have a very good week defensively, so I put the Rams in. And, they didn't do terrible. They got me 13.80 fan points. But, dude, the week before they got 21. The week before that, they got 17. 15 before that. It's like I'm going to write it off, and I'm just going to say this week was just a rough week for everyone. And I'm just going to leave it at that because I look all the way down my roster. So I crushed the guy that I played, but my projections going into the week were 200 fan points. I finished the weekend with 109, and I looked down my roster, and Phillip Rivers is the only one that killed it yet again. He got me 42 points off of a projected 29. But then I go down Crabtree. Michael Crabtree has just been so consistent for me all season. I love it. So now he's my number 1 receiver. And then Fuller, good old Fuller. I put him in starting because I took Macklin out of the starting lineup. And so I remember texting you after this, and I said, you have got to be kidding me. So I put Fuller in when I first picked him up off the waiver, and he got me a whopping 5 points. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to bench this guy. I'm going to put some other people in and see if I can get some good points. So the guy that I put in had got hurt. So I dropped him, and Fuller got 25 points that week. And I'm like, great. Got this guy on my bench, and he got 25 points. Bro. I did look at the matchups, but I wanted to give Macklin one more week, and that's why I left him out. I said, I'm going to give Macklin one more week. He had a good matchup. Let me see, and he did terrible. So I put Fuller back in, and now he gets me a whole 1.15.
Wait. Who just answer me this? Who did Fuller play? Who did his team play?
They played Minnesota.
Okay, wait, hold on. Minnesota. Minnesota. Easily top 3 defense in the league this year, right now. Arguably, I'm not a Minnesota fan. Arguably, number 1 defense in the league. That's what I'm saying.
But all my other receivers are on bye week except for Smith from San Francisco, but he did nothing.
Oh yeah, he did nothing. 0, so. San Francisco, dude. I was in the same issue in one of my leagues. I have Allen Robinson, Mike Evans, and Jarvis Landry as my starting receivers, but because Allen Robinson was on a bye week, I had to start Sterling Shepard, who's a rookie. I mean, he was doing solid numbers for the first 3 weeks. Last week he didn't do much. This week he gave me like 1 point something points. So I mean, he didn't do anything, but I mean, I still won the game because my whole other lineup did. They killed it. But I mean, it happens sometimes. I mean, it's just not that one player doesn't do anything. But I mean, with Fuller, I'm surprised, honestly, Hopkins did as good as he did this week, considering the fact that they played Minnesota, because Minnesota has a crazy defense. They're undefeated, so the only remaining undefeated team, and it's because of their offense. I mean their defense. Sorry, they lost Adrian Peterson. They lost, their quarterback Teddy Bridgewater. We traded them Sam Bradford, who's been doing, really well. I mean, that's good for him. I'm just glad. I'm hoping he does even better that way. That 4th round pick that we got for him turns into a 2nd rounder. Even though we already got a 1st round, I'm just trying to get picks off for him. So, I mean, their defense is killing it. Anytime I see one of my players going against Minnesota this season, I'm probably not going to start them.
Yeah. So I was looking at the waiver wire right now, and Eddie Royal is available. If he's available in your league, he's definitely a good pickup. He's somebody that'll put up pretty consistent numbers. So that's
one thing I will say, maybe not so much, because the reason he was doing good was because Brian Hoyer had a really good chemistry with him. He wasn't passing the ball too much to Alshon Jeffrey, and now supposedly Jay Cutler might come back this upcoming week. So look for, if you have Jeffrey, his value will go up. But Eddie Royal, I mean, yeah, he's a good player. The only thing I'm saying, he probably won't get as many targets as he was before when Hoyer was QB. But I did also hear that the Bears aren't sure who they're going to go with, even if Cutler is healthy. They might continue with Hoyer, who's been putting up over 300 yards of the games he started.
So as an Eagle fan, I want to ask you a question then. Darren Sproles, he's available on the wire, and I desperately need another running back, just somebody that will give me consistent numbers. So as an Eagles fan, is it worth it to pick him up?
I love Darren Sproles as a player on my team. He does so much for our team. He does, kickoff returns sometimes. He will use him, as a receiver. We'll use him, as a running back, our second string. He's always put up numbers. He has so much heart. The only thing is that I don't know if it translates too well to fantasy points. Some weeks he'll kill it and he'll have a few touchdowns. Exactly, like week 3 he killed it. But I just don't think his value on the field, like for my team, it doesn't translate identically in fantasy the way it should. But I mean, he's solid, but I would say don't look to him to bring you like that, RB1 or the running back 1 numbers that you'd probably expect.
Yeah, the thing I'm struggling with is I had both of the Buccaneers running backs, Sims and Martin.
Why don't you
they're both out?
You should get the new one.
Which one's their new one?
The third string. I forgot his name. I'll look it up right now. But he had a pretty good game from what I was seeing. I was watching the game earlier, and he was killing it. I mean, in the first quarter, he had like 60-something rushing yards.
Yeah, I mean, Sims got put on the injury reserve, so he's done.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh dang!
Injured
Oh yeah.
reserve knee.
So he's IRs. They're gone for at least 6 or 8 weeks, right? They have to remain on it
Yep.
minimum. Yeah. So he. I mean, earliest he'll come back will be what, week 13, 14, something like that.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and claim Sproles off the waiver, and let's see if he puts up some numbers for me. I mean, I just need some running backs, man. I've just been struggling, and it sucks because every running back I have has gone down. I lost Woodhead in week 2.
Dude, that happens. It's sad, but I mean, like I told you before we started, your lineup when you draft is gonna look almost nothing the same once you're done. At the end of the season, because I mean, you're gonna just, people are gonna get hurt, people are gonna be performance, you're gonna be swapping out, and then some, players that you probably didn't expect to start to, put up numbers are gonna start killing it. You're gonna start drafting them.
So speaking of that,
Oh yeah, so I mean, this is probably gonna be,
time for some beast or bust.
I'm gonna. Oh, okay, we're going to that. I thought we were going to the other part. I was gonna leave.
No, man, let's do some beast or bust. So one, let's just limit it. One beast, one bust. Any sport, and so my beast for this week is gonna be D'Angelo Russell. Man, he is lighting it up, and you go ahead and yawn all you want.
Oh, I am.
I mean, I'll touch on his numbers a little more once we start talking about Lakers here in a few minutes. But he is lighting it up. And I've been saying it since week 1. I've been saying it since last year. D'Angelo Russell is going to have a breakout season. So the NBA better watch out for him. And then so what's your beast? Let's do that. You tell me your beast, and then we'll switch to bust.
David Johnson from the Cardinals, running back for the Arizona Cardinals. That was my number one, or my first round pick. So glad I was able to get him. He had the biggest rushing yard game this season by any running back. He had 157 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns with 28 receiving yards. So he gave me, in a standard league, 30.5 points, killing it.
Awesome. And my bust, because I'm trying to start a movement, we want Goff. We want Goff.
Goff is your bust?
No, Case Keenum is my bust. That guy cannot hit a target. And I'm sorry, man. It's one of those things, like I said, I don't want to talk ill of people, and I'm not trying to put them down, but I'm talking just straight truth on what's happening on the field. And Case Keenum, unfortunately, is not a starting NFL quarterback, but he's a placeholder, and it's gotten to the point where when are we going to say enough is enough and be done with it? And so Case Keenum is my bust, and I think I might just make him my bust until Jared Goff starts.
Okay, that's a fair assessment. So I have a question. For bust, do I have to pick a player, or can I pick a non-player?
What do you mean?
I want to pick the officials, the referees who were reffing that Detroit Lions Eagles game, which was absolute. It was ridiculous. Your boy Ryan Matthews was running the ball. He fumbled, and obviously the ball came out of his hands, and then one of our offensive linemen the ball touched his legs, and the upper part of his body was out of bounds, which by league rules means that's a dead ball, our ball, out of bounds. Still fumble, but it's out. The officials reviewed it, and they still gave the ball to Detroit. And there's another point where we're going for a last drive. Wentz, just threw it downfield just to try to, we had no timeouts left. We had a minute left, so he wanted to get just that last drive. We were down by 1 point. He passes it to our receiver Nelson Aguilar, and the cornerback ends up getting an interception, first interception for Carson Wentz, and you can see in the pictures that he was holding Nelson Aguilar's arm down, which should have been a pass interference call. So my bust would be the officials who missed a lot of calls, and they were calling a lot of bogus calls on us all game.
Fair enough. So that's our beast or bust for the week. And we'll continue next week.
Okay, and that's it, ladies and gentlemen. We don't have anything else for the day. All right, so you can just click off now. It's
wrong. Wrong. That's wrong. Wrong.
Okay, Mr. Trump.
We're going to go ahead and move on to the Lakers now. For all my Laker fans out there. If you guys are not excited, then you are not paying attention. This team is fun. It's exciting. I still stand by what I said, that
All right,
it's
I'm out,
it's
so
going to
I'm
be a
gonna go.
process. That's fine. I'll have a conversation with the Lakers fans out here. It's a process, and it's going to take time. But this team looks really good. A couple keys that I wanted us to focus on when we're watching this team is. Could they, were they going to change defensively? What is the identity of this team going to be, especially on the defensive end? And then also, how is D'Angelo going to play? Is he going to look to take his shots? Because a lot of times last season, he wanted to make the right play, so he would come off screen, he'd be open, and he'd pass the ball when he had an open shot. And one of the things that Luke Walton said is, in one of his quotes after the last game, was that he wants him to take those shots. He told him, if you're open, take the shot. That is the right play. So I am extremely excited after watching 3 preseason games. Lakers are 2-1 in the preseason. D'Angelo Russell last game had 33 points in limited minutes, and he's just putting up numbers. But the biggest key for me is on the defensive end and watching what this team is doing as a whole and the way they're playing together. The second unit has just been bringing fire off the bench. And if the starting unit starts off a little cold, then the second unit comes in, brings fire. Tark Black is playing out of his mind. You can see that he really wants that backup center role. And then Luke has Jordan Clarkson coming off the bench, which was odd to me because he's arguably second best player on the team. But I understand it, and it's been working. He's playing great off the bench. His three-point shot looks amazing. So some numbers that I wanted to share to talk about this defensive effort from the Lakers. So in 3 preseason games, again, limited minutes. So here's some defensive stats.
In the words of Birdman, y'all finished? Y'all done?
All right, back to the point. Back to the point. But as a basketball fan, you can appreciate it. So anyways, steals. Let's talk about steals. Tark Black has 4 steals in 3 games. And then we go down the line. Everybody's getting their hand on the ball. Calderon.
Wait, hold on.
Jordan.
Go back to Tark Black. How many do you have?
4 steals.
Oh, okay.
In 3 games. Yeah. And again, in limited minutes. And Tark Black is the backup. On top of that, he's sharing minutes with the 3rd and 4th option centers. So he's playing maybe 15 minutes a game. Brandon Ingram. So this is the one that I really wanted to talk about. Brandon Ingram has 3 steals already in his short time. He's really playing really well on the defensive end. And then Jordan Clarkson, 5 steals. Remember I said in week 1 or in week 2, I said that Jordan Clarkson, the key for him is defensively, that he has the abilities, but he needs to be a top 10 defender in the league in order for the Lakers to be successful. And
I can neither confirm nor deny that you made that statement.
And then, so the most impressive player so far, obviously, is my boy D'Angelo Russell. Angelo. That 3-point shot is dropping.
What you were actually going to call him?
Yeah, Angelo. So he's got 7 steals, man. Defensively, he is lighting it up, and he is showing why he's one of the best players in the league.
He probably has his phone on the court and just has a flashlight. He's recording everybody.
Oh man, but his 3-point percentage is he's doing really well there as well. He's shooting 47% from 3. Granted, it's only 3 games.
It's pretty
47%.
Okay, all right. No, I mean that's impressive. I'm just saying, let's see if he keep it up the whole season.
Right, and in the last game, he shot 68% from the field. So he is doing really, really well. So Lakers fans, again, we're excited. This is an exciting time in Lakers basketball. D'Angelo looks great. The whole team is playing well together. They're moving the ball. But most importantly is they are playing defense, and they're playing it with heart and aggression. And that's what's going to open up the offensive end for them. That's what Luke is preaching. That's what I've been talking about. And I just hope and pray that they stay focused on the defensive end, because it is going to open up a whole new world for them offensively. And we might be able to see this team get over 35 wins this season if and only if they can continue to play defense this way.
Lakers haters, keep staying strong. They ain't gonna do nothing. They ain't got nothing. This won't last long. Don't worry.
All right, guys, that's it for week 3. Hope you enjoyed it, we will see you guys week 4, or we'll be talking to you week 4. Please hit us up on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all that. Show us some love.
The Dodgers better not lose. That's all I'm saying. Bye.